All right, so listen, we all have a pretty good idea that the next NetherRealm game that we're going to be getting after Mortal Kombat 1 is most likely going to be Injustice 3. At least it seems that way. A lot of teasing from people like James Gunn and from in general from NetherRealm, job postings. Lots of stuff has been out there. We made multiple videos on this channel already, how we're thinking that the next NetherRealm game is going to be Injustice 3. And I know a lot of people are incredibly hyped about that idea. I know a lot of people who found this channel are incredibly hyped about it. For us to go back to the glory days of covering Injustice. I'm personally very excited to see NetherRealm go back to the game. I was bummed that from MK11 they went back to Mortal Kombat 1 and didn't just continue the cycle as they usually would, where it would be Mortal Kombat then Injustice. So, you know, you got all this excitement surrounding the community, but there's one person out there who's not very excited and who posted an entire video about it. And I'm a big fan of theirs, and now, you know, I've met him multiple times. He's a really cool guy. Maximilian Dood. Max uploaded a video titled, "Please No More Injustice." It's breaking my heart to even read that title. Max, how dare you? But I asked Max, you know, I said, hey, are you cool if I were to react to this video and create like a dialogue about this, hear out some of his points, and see if we can chat about what he's thinking here and maybe reason with some of the feedback that he has to give about Injustice as a franchise. Max is cool with it, so here we are now. It's been a week. I've had to simmer on this. I haven't watched it yet, but we're gonna talk about Maximilian's video. Let's hit that thumbs up button if you guys are hyped. All right, let's jump in. Let's react to this video. Please, no more Injustice from Maximilian. I can't believe I'm reading those words.
I get it. A lot of the other stuff in Injustice is mad good. The customization, the towers, like all of that shit.
It is.
That stuff is really good.
Yes.
But to be real, do you really want to have a game where projectiles are just insanely dominant on 75% of the roster and most of them are just people walking back and throwing shit? Those games.
Okay. We're pausing it right away. He's right, all right? He's not very wrong. One of the biggest issues with Injustice Gods Among Us, and then as well with Injustice 2, and this is an issue that kind of, it goes beyond, you know, the great story, it goes beyond the cool visuals, the customization. This is the stuff where it's like, you know, after all the dust settles and you've been playing this game for 2 years, these are the things that you're going to be looking at.
Games were the antithesis of fun. They can change. Right. In the same way, if we're talking about the future of MK, if we're just getting into this shit,
let's get into it.
It wasn't even my intention to start with this.
Okay.
If we're getting into the thick of it right now, and we're really going to start talking about true desires for the future of what the hell NRS is doing. Ed Boon is teasing a potential Injustice 3.
Right.
He's teasing some Injustice stuff on his Instagram.
Correct.
Like there are things out there. It's pretty likely that the future of what could be Injustice related. And yeah, that does seem initially appealing to me. I'm going to say right now, I'm going to try to appeal towards your rational thought and not what you remember it being, because I also remember in my head Injustice 2 is pretty fun, dude.
Yes.
There's some great characters in that game.
Yes.
There's some fun shit in that game. That game was the antithesis of fun, if you actually want to learn how to play it. I'm going to be as honest as I can. I'm not...
Oh, man. The antithesis of fun, I think, is a little, like, intense, but he's saying what I was saying, right? Like, if you're looking beyond all of the fun stuff that you initially experience when you jump into the game, there's quite a bit of problems. For it as a fighting game that you want to play over and over and over again, you start to see some of those glaring issues.
Telling you that your opinions are wrong. I'm just saying people are remembering a lighthearted side of what made Injustice 2 great. They were actually good. All of the gear and all that stuff on the unlockables and single player
Exactly.
content.
There you go.
Yes. Dude, I'm with you. All this stuff was amazing. Quite literally, the game, like, hated you playing it. It hated people actually engaging. So much so that they knew it from Injustice 1, because Injustice 1 and 2 are very similar. Like, in the history of NetherRealm Studios games, very infrequently are one game exactly like the next. Like, MK9 and X had a lot of similarities, but clearly X was moving in a completely different direction.
That's very true.
Completely different direction. For people that actually wanted to learn how to get good and invest a lot of time into Injustice 1 and Injustice 2, these games were brutally similar.
So he's actually 1000% correct about that. And it was something that I remember a lot of people were very surprised by when we were getting Injustice 2 like revealed, when we started to see some of the characters. When we saw Batman for the first time in Injustice 2, everyone's like, oh, it's just like the same as Batman from Injustice Gods Among Us. Same moveset, same animations, pretty much the same combos. There's a couple of differences, obviously. It looks smoother, it looks better, and maybe they, you know, tweaked it a little bit so you can't go as crazy as you would with Batman in Injustice 1 as you would with the character in Injustice 2, although you could go crazy with him in different ways. He was still really, really good is what I'm trying to say, and for the most part, everything that you knew about Batman and how to play that character in the first game, you'd have that muscle memory and have a lot of his combos memorized for the second game. So he is right about that. I think that was one of the bigger issues, actually, that a lot of people had with the characters crossing over from the first game into the second game. He's totally right. It's not something that I really put too much thought into, but yeah, from MK9 to MKX to 11 and now Mortal Kombat 1, they are drastically different games from one another. There's some similarities in there, right? Like there's some moves that look the same. There's some moves that are performed the same, but in terms of just overall, if you were to just generalize it, they play very differently from one game to the next. And it's weird that Injustice is the franchise from NetherRealm that doesn't do that. But at the same time, they put Joker into Mortal Kombat 11. We were all really worried he was just going to have the same recycled moveset from Injustice 2, and he was completely different. So that was a breath of fresh air, and maybe it means that the folks at NetherRealm have taken in this little bit of feedback, and could mean that if we get an Injustice 3, it is going to be brand spanking new. At least I certainly hope so.
And all the special moves that you have with your characters are like the same thing. So if you jump in with Aquaman, you jump in with Batman or Superman, you're sort of same forward 2-3 into launcher, into eye laser, into like the same exact bounce up and stuff. This is unlike other NetherRealm Studios games. Injustice was a series that quite literally picked right up from the previous game and sort of in a way was treated like it was a Tekken. From that point, legacy skill was really important. Yes, there was a lot of stuff that was 100% different, but they did not go from the ground up. It built upon itself. My worry is that if there is an Injustice 3, I'm thinking in my head, I would like to think it would be a reevaluation of what a DC fighting game could be, what a DC superhero fighting game could be. But what they have proven in the past is that Injustice is a series that picks up off the previous one and does like micro improvements and adjustments.
Okay, I'm actually going to interrupt here because this is the first point that he's made that I disagree with. He's saying the right things in terms of the trend that we have witnessed from NetherRealm, from Injustice Gods Among Us, going into Injustice 2. Now, there is some points to be made that prove this wrong. Mainly what he is saying regarding the Mortal Kombat franchise. MK9 to X to 11 to 1, all very playing very differently from one another and having new mechanics and innovative ideas where they're trying to shake things up, and it's not going to be the same experience that you had in the last game. Now, I think, personally, that because of the fact that they skipped out on doing an Injustice 3 as their next game to follow up from Mortal Kombat 11, means that it's a franchise they felt they maybe needed to take a bit more time with. Maybe it was something they didn't want to just jump right back into because they wanted to figure out a way to change things up for the game. At least that's just personally how it looks from the landscape. You know, they had an idea from MK11 to go into Mortal Kombat 1, and especially story-wise, lore-wise, they wanted to try and go in a new direction, reboot the franchise, try some new things. You know, you got Quietly Angus, Scorpion, and all this stuff. So they wanted to try out some fun, different things to really shake things up for the Mortal Kombat franchise, which is why it seems as though they didn't want to go back to Injustice. They wanted to stick with Mortal Kombat. But now that there's been such a long break between Injustice 2 and when I believe we inevitably get an Injustice 3, I think it's going to be a very different game. I think there's going to be a lot of new mechanics. There's going to be a lot of things that are different. They're going to bring some things back that we all recognize. Like the Clash system, I think, is probably still going to be there. The traits are a big part of Injustice games as well. So we're going to see those traits for the characters as well. That's always a fun part of it. But I don't think it's just going to be the same formula now with a new look. You know, I don't think that NetherRealm is just going to repeat some of the problems that Injustice 2 had going into an Injustice 3.
But the game was so aggressively unfun, it was insane. At least in Injustice 1, you had some characters that literally countered all the insane zoning bullshit that characters had that was super powerful. A Martian Manhunter, or you had a Batgirl. Injustice 2 didn't really have that. And this is why I think Injustice 1 is a more fun game than Injustice 2. This is all boiling down to why, like, I don't think I want Injustice 3, man. They gave you quite literally a mechanic that'll get you across the whole goddamn screen at the price for a smaller amount of meters.
Okay, so the meter burn roll.
Or if you did forward and like this extra button, your character can do like an invulnerable roll across the whole screen. Every single character had this. It sucked. It didn't help the crazy zoning. In fact, it was never worth it. And what it eventually led to was not good. So they had to buff it like multiple times. And it never ended up actually being super valuable.
So yeah, he's saying a lot of things that I absolutely agree with. It's just that I don't think it should boil down to, you know, this is why I don't want Injustice 3. Matter of fact, you know, if there is an Injustice 3 coming out, it's still probably a couple of years away. we should all be thanking Maximilian for putting out a video like this, for having the platform that he has, for being such a centerpiece for all fighting games on YouTube. For him to be saying all of this, NetherRealm has to be listening. And I think it's really good that he's providing this level of feedback, because there are some mechanics in Injustice 2 that are just kind of dumb, that only exist for the pure fact that they know that it's a game full of so many zoners. And yeah, he's right. Injustice Gods Among Us had a couple of characters that made it so that you can't just zone all day and get away with it. Injustice 2 didn't have enough of that, and the ones that were those counters, they just weren't strong enough in general, so you were suffering quite a bit and getting caught by zoners a lot. So yeah, it does suck that they were inventing all of these mechanics to prevent all the zoning, but at the same time, thank you, Maximilian, for all this feedback. I hope that someone at NetherRealm is listening and makes some adjustments when they're working on the development for the game, so that it isn't so zone heavy, and so that they don't invent actual game mechanics that make it so that you don't have to worry about zoning, because that's dumb. There should be characters that counter zoning, not mechanics given to everyone.
So anyway, the problem is that mechanically speaking, Injustice 2 and the way it handles like breakers and all that stuff, by the way, there's multiple breakers in the game now, because there's the second round breakers, the clashes and shit.
The clash system.
But there's also the worst breaker in fighting game history. The absolute worst idea of how we could break a combo, which is the stupid slip out. And it all deviated from Aquaman in Injustice 1.
You know, they brought this back for MK11.
Like, this is not good. I don't like this, because I've gotten the hit, and I'm
stupid
continuing to do the combo, and they would fall out of the combo and get up fast enough to punish you. Why are we... Why, Air Escape would like... And they have to balance it and change it. They keep it in Mortal Kombat 11.
There you go, there you go.
Fucked up and weird, where you hit the ground first, and then you get up, and I'm literally being punished for hitting you.
Yeah, so they did end up fixing that problem with Mortal Kombat 11 by introducing moves that can punish and break through the escape armor. And yeah, I totally agree. It is, there should be no fighting game where I can be punished for punishing you. You made the mistake, and now I am making you pay for it. And all of a sudden, because you rolled out of the combo at the right time, you recover faster out of your roll to punish me? Like, I opened you up. What are you talking about? So yeah, I totally agree. Get that out of the game. Don't bring it back with Injustice 3. If I punish you, you're getting punished. The end. That's it. It's over. It's done.
MK11's Breakaway and also Injustice 2, these things are the same thing, is what I'm trying to say. They just kept it in MK11, which is why a lot of people just talk about MK11 being Injustice 3. Like, this game very much is Injustice 3.
Fair.
Like, the way we meter burn things, the way we break out of combos. Like, this isn't playing like a Mortal Kombat, it's playing like another Injustice game. What I'm trying to tell you is that if you wanted your 1v1 superhero game, it was Mortal Kombat 11. If you wanted, like, your follow-up to Injustice 2, most of the things, like, outside of obviously characters and shit like that, but gameplay ideas carried directly over from Injustice 2 to MK11.
No, Max, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that. You're right that there are mechanics from Injustice 2 that carried over and were kind of tweaked just a little bit in Mortal Kombat 11, but Mortal Kombat 11 plays so different. And a lot of the problems that people have in Mortal Kombat 11 is that it's just so slow. It's so sluggish. Everybody feels like, all the characters feel like they have like 50-pound ankle weights on their ankles at all times. It is a very sluggish game to get through. The combos do not feel fast and fluid like they did in MKX, like they do in Mortal Kombat 1, to be honest, and like they do with the combo-heavy characters in Injustice 2. So while there are mechanics that were carried over from Injustice over to Mortal Kombat 11, I completely disagree that Mortal Kombat 11 was kind of the pseudo Injustice 3 for people that wanted that. You know, and the main, you know, the buzzer here, or the stinger, if you will, is that it's not Injustice. You know, we want our DC characters, we want our DC heroes. That's a large part of the reason why people wanted Injustice 3 as well. I want Beast Boy in a fighting game. I think that would be sick to see what they could do with that character. Give me like Etrigan the Demon. You know, there's so many different characters they could play with.
For many people, like MK fans, casually, it's incredible because it offers everything, but no shit, that game was pretty much Injustice 2.5. They toned down a lot of the projectiles, don't get me wrong. So this is where I'm like, are you excited that Ed Boon is talking about a potential Injustice 3, thinking that we're gonna get a follow-up to Injustice 2? Not happy.
I am!
No, I don't know. Unless that game is being completely reworked.
Me right now.
If that game gets turned into a game that, you know, prioritizes people actually fighting each other, then I would be down. But there are so many amazing characters in Injustice 2 that are stuck in that game and they can't do shit, dude. Them again. So if you're asking me, hey man, are you excited about Injustice 3? I'm just saying no. I'm hoping the game would be good, and I hope it would be different. I'm gonna tell you something that I'd be more excited for. Much more excited for, even if it came at a severe caveat. I would be much more excited about Mortal Kombat versus DC again. DC versus Marvel, sure. We thought that was going to be happening for like the longest time, right? We were hoping that
the comment about wanting another Mortal Kombat versus DC, Max, I am with you. And it's not because I love MK versus DC 1 or anything like that. It's because I think that it came out too early. It came out at a time where DC as a brand thought they had to play it extremely safe. If you look at DC now, making films like The Batman, being okay with R-rated projects like Joker or The Suicide Squad, and in general what they're doing with their animated project, their comic books, it is very adult. Some of it R-rated. I totally feel like if they were to make an MK versus DC today, they would be down with characters like the Joker having a full-on fatality. Maybe you still won't be able to see characters like Superman and Batman get their heads chopped off or whatever, like things like that. But I imagine they would push the boundaries a little further and make it much more fun and enjoyable for fans of DC and fans of Mortal Kombat to kind of coalesce. But I don't know if we're ever going to get to that point. I don't know if we're ever going to get something like that ever again because of how big of a failure, honestly, the first Mortal Kombat versus DC was. But Max, I agree with you. I want to go on the record to say I am a believer in them going back and doing another Mortal Kombat versus DC because I think that they could get it right if they were to return to that.
So WB's going through a pretty rough spot right now where they don't have all the money in the world. They actually do not have all the money and resources in the world to do just whatever they want. You'd have to think that that's going to have a severe impact on what NRS does. Hopefully it leads them to having a little bit more freedom in what they can do. But to me personally, I think it makes a lot more sense that Mortal Kombat is still in the title of an MK versus DC game.
Okay, I don't want to sit here and watch the entire video. There's still so much here that Max talks about that I think you guys should go check out. So I'm going to link the video in the description box below. But I do want to wrap some things up in saying that I think Max is saying a lot of things I honestly agree with, okay? Some of his problems with Injustice 2 specifically, I'm right there with him, honestly. There's a lot of issues that I have with that game when I go back to it and I look back to it. And, you know, when you're not wearing the rose-tinted glasses, when you're not wearing the nostalgia glasses, you see all of those glaring issues. But it does mean a lot to me. It holds a special place in my heart. I had so many fun matches playing Injustice 2. I had so much fun with the gear system and with the ability system as well, and trying to create, you know, these custom appearances that are based on comic book looks, or as well trying to max out my strength so that I can do like a 70% combo in unranked matches, of course. You know, things like that ended up being the fun for me and the reason why I stuck with it as long as I did, and why, you know, every now and again I'll still jump in and play a match or two of Injustice 2. Yeah, I want there to be an Injustice 3, and I do think that, especially with the existence of this video, thank you, Max, that NetherRealm is going to listen to some of the feedback that people had about the second game. With as much of a break as we had from Injustice 2 to when we will inevitably get an Injustice 3, there had to have been so much that they took in and so much that they want to listen when it comes to community feedback to implement and make Injustice 3 the best game possible. I don't want there to be as much zoning. I'm with you guys on that, so hopefully that's one of the big takeaways from their work on a third game. And then we're just going to have to wait and see what they do beyond that. It's all going to be a waiting game and a guessing game until they announce officially an Injustice 3. And although Max says he doesn't want it, and maybe some people are going to agree with him, I do think Injustice 3 is just, it's happening. I don't think that this is something we can stay away from. I know that David Zaslav didn't specifically mention Injustice when it came to some of the franchises and games that they're going to work on, but it's NetherRealm Studios. They're the guys who make Mortal Kombat, and you already know they're going to come out with the combat pack equivalent in an Injustice 3 that has a Mortal Kombat character. They're going to put like Johnny Cage in Injustice 3 because they want to have that cross-pollination. They want the MK fans to make their way over to try out this Injustice game, and it all still feels like it's within the same family. In a perfect world, we got Mortal Kombat versus DC 2. Hell yes, I would love that. But I think that's too much of a risk for WB to take at this time, considering how big of a failure the first game was, both critically and honestly financially. I did a whole lot of yapping in today's video. I'm going to wrap it up by saying, Max, I want more Injustice. Okay. All right. Thanks. Well, all right. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I've been Caboose. I'll see you guys later.